Hey everyone, welcome back to X-Plane 11. Today we're flying the A350 from Zurich down to Rome. We're just at the gate right now, finishing up a few things. Let's just hop up into the cockpit. I have everything loaded. I have my MCP set, I have my McDo set up with my flight plan, I have my perf page set up, APU is running. All we have left to do is to call up to the tower, get the pushback tug, and have them push us out. I've also went ahead and loaded up my AVS and planned my route. We're departing on runway 28 with the VEBI 4 departure, and it's going to take us over the Alps. We're going to be flying at 39,000. It's going to be about an hour and 13 minutes, and then we'll descend down into Rome. I just installed some new texture packs for Rome, so I haven't seen them yet. I'm excited to check them out. And then if by any chance we might have to do a missed approach, our alternate airport will be down in Naples. So I'm just going to call up to the tower, get the tug over here, and then I will see you guys in a second. Alright everyone, we're just pushing back from the gate now, and we've been given clearance to start our engines, so I've selected the ignition switch, and we're going to bring master 2 switch to the on position, and let the engines fire up. All the fuel pumps are on, all of our external lights that we need right now are on as well. We're going to go ahead and flick the seatbelt signs on. The flight attendants have already done their safety briefing, so that's all done. And now it's just a matter of time before we're pushed back and lined up with our taxiway, and then we'll check back when we're ready to taxi to our runway. Alright everyone, our engines have both been started now. We can flick the start switch over to norm. The APU bleed can come off and the master switch. We are going to turn on our turn-offs. Nose light's going to come to taxi. Logo light, oh sorry, that's the landing light, sorry I meant wing light will come on as well, just for some extra visibility. All other signs are on. And now we're just going to taxi on over to runway 28 and line up for our departure. It's pretty busy today here in Zurich, so let's get out of here relatively quickly because we have been on the ground for a while setting everything up. I'm just going to give a little bit of forward power to the throttles as we taxi on over. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are almost at runway 28 as we continue to taxi over there. I'm not seeing any traffic on the AVS on this runway, so that means we're cleared for the departure. So we're just going to be taking off straight out, and then we will be making a couple of turns on our way out of Zurich. And then again, we'll be flying over the Swiss Alps, so it should be a nice scenic flight. It is currently 7:03 right now in Zurich, so it might get a little darker when we get closer to Rome, but I guess we'll see. The weather so far right now is looking really calm out there and here, so it doesn't look like we're going to have too many issues, but you know, things can change. There can be clear air turbulence, but you know what? We'll just have fun flying. The A350 is a really nice plane, really technologically advanced. It is my first flight with the A350, so I haven't fully learned the systems. We're on the runway now, so our landing lights will come on, our strobes will come on, and everything is set up for takeoff. Let's just line ourselves up here on the runway. We're going to bring those throttles up to about 50% and set takeoff power. Alright, man flex 31, SRS runway auto thrust blue. Just try and keep it on that center line there, which is a nice handy feature of the Airbus family, is the center line marker there. Alright, we're coming up on 100 knots, so we're going to come off the side stick and we're coming up on V1 now. Alright, V1, and rotate. We're pretty heavy today. It's a full flight, so Alright, so positive rate, gear is coming up. Fly that nose up as we fly out of Zurich. Flaps 2 can come in. We did take off with flaps 2 just because we were a little heavy today. And yeah, so we're just gonna fly out of Zurich here, and I'm gonna hand fly the departure. Alright, we are still hand flying our departure here out of Zurich. We're going to go ahead and turn off the terrain radar. I am going to turn on the weather radar and shoot my range out. And I was distracted and missed that my flight director started moving on me. So we're just going to try and line it up the yellow square with the crosshairs here as we fly out of Zurich. Engines on the A350 just sound amazing on takeoff. I have the Trent sound pack for it, so go ahead and check that out on the X-Plane store as well. It just makes the engines sound a lot better. It really has that buzzsaw sound effect that the Trents are known for. So now that we're at about 6,000, I'm going to go ahead and switch the autopilot on, bring in the last notch of flaps, and now the airplane is going to continue climbing up to 39,000 feet on our way out of Zurich. Alright, we are now at 15,000 feet climbing out of Zurich. We're going to bring the landing lights off now, and the turn-offs can also come off. Wing lights, I'm going to take them off as well. Seatbelt signs can come off, and they can begin serving some drinks. Flight time today, again, is only about an hour, so we're not going to serve any meals. Today, if we take a look at our load sheet, so it's a pretty... Sorry about that delay there, ladies and gentlemen. So now as we're still climbing out of Zurich, we just hit a little bit of turbulence not too long ago, but you know, it's nothing too major. The A350 is a large aircraft, so she can handle a few bumps and shakes on her way out. We are currently heading towards the Obidu intersection, I believe it's called, and then from there, we'll be going to Omido, and then we'll be making a right turn to Artag, and then we will fly over the Alps, and then we will come out over Milan, and then we will fly down the coast of the Ligurian Sea and land in Rome. So, I'll check back with you guys in a little bit. Alright everyone, so we are right now flying through the Swiss Alps. Let's continuous mountain range, very famous. So yeah, we're just gonna keep flying through those, or through this range, and you can see out there in the distance is our top of climb marker. It looks like there's a little bit of weather off to our right there, but not too worried about that at the moment. And if we shoot this out just a little farther, you can see our top of descent just out there. So we're still quite far from it, but I will check back in when we're closer to our final cruise altitude of 39,000 feet. Alright everyone, so we are at our cruising altitude of 39,000 feet now, and we are just cruising along. We're 138 nautical miles from Tinku, and then if we look down here, because I prefer to use this McDo when I'm viewing my flight plans, just moving the camera over there, sorry. I prefer this McDo just because it's smaller and it's a little easier to understand because, again, as I've mentioned, I mostly fly A320, 30, and 40, so they all use this McDo, so I'm not as familiar with this. So if we look at our flight plan here, we're heading to Tinku, and then from Tinku we'll reach our top of descent over to Zibel, and then from Zibel we'll descend down all the way to our runway. So closer to the top of descent, I'm going to set 2500 into my MCP, and then the aircraft, once I push the knob in, will begin its descent down. We're doing a full flaps landing today. I already have my ILS frequencies tuned. I have all my approach data in there, which I will double check just now, make sure everything's good. So the temperature has changed, it's now 27. The altimeter is still the same now in Rome. Winds have changed direction a little. They're now 190 at 6 knots. So we're just going to change all that in there. And now the plane is configured and all the takeoff data is entered. Let's just hop back in our seat here, and we will continue to cruise along over to Tinku, and once we reach the top of descent, I will check back with y'all. Alright, we're still cruising along here, so I just looked at my perf page on the McDo, and we're now at about 100 nautical miles away from our top of descent. So what I'm going to do here now is pre-program the MCP so that when we reach the top of descent, all I have to do is push in the altitude selector knob. So now I'm going to hit that, over to 2,000, so 100, sorry. Doesn't always like to switch over, but I find if I adjust the camera a little just so it can, there we go. So 2500 is now set in our MCP. I'm going to switch that back over to 1000. We still have the weather radar on. I haven't seen anything else show up since earlier when we saw just a few clouds. I found some settings in the EFB here, and it allows you to toggle pilots, so I added them. Just, you know, adds a little more life to the cockpit. We're still just flying along. We don't need to descend yet. I just do that so that I don't have to worry about it when I reach top of descent. Unlike the Boeing, the Airbus aircrafts will not auto descend at your top of descent, so you have to manually tell it to descend. But once you do it, it will follow all restrictions and capture the vertical descent path and manage the descent so you don't overspeed and that you wind up on your destination's waypoints. So we're just going to keep cruising along here, and I'll come back when we're almost at top of descent. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so we're now at about 50 nautical miles from our top of descent. Tinku is now visible on our screen. I have my range set to 40 nautical miles. I am going to bring that into 20 when I get closer to my top of descent. I do like to have my range in closer just to give me a more accurate depiction of where my top of descent marker is. You can see the airplane's already configured for an ILS approach into Rome as we're still flying along here at Mach 8.845. While we've been flying along, I've just kind of been monitoring the instruments, making sure everything's good, double-checking my arrival data, making sure all my waypoints are good, my ILS frequencies are tuned, and then I was also planning for another flight that I will be doing later today, that'll be uploaded probably sometime tomorrow or tonight. That one is going to be Air Canada Flight 114 from YVR to Toronto. I got the information for it from FlightAware, and then I used SimBrief to get the routing. So it's going to be a 4-hour flight, so it will be the longest flight I have done to date in X-Plane, and I will be recording that. Just some preliminary information: the aircraft is pretty heavy. It looks like there's about 347 people and 10.6 kilograms of cargo on board, and then 42.4 tons of fuel. So yeah, that will be done later today, and then it'll be posted sometime today or tomorrow. So also go ahead and check that out, as well as this video and the other two I have posted on my channel. I do plan on trying to upload more content and more games. If you have any game suggestions that I might enjoy, please feel free to leave those in the comments so I can go check them out. And so now we're pretty much at 40 nautical miles, still on our way to our top of descent. If we change our range to 40, nothing, and then when we change it to 80 there, you can see it's way off in the distance there. So we're just going to keep flying along, monitoring the aircraft, and yeah, we'll check back at top of descent. Alright folks, as you can see here on our navigation display that the top of descent marker is coming up. We are 3 nautical miles, so I'm going to come over here. I'm going to hit before descent and just let the cabin know. Play the PA announcement. We are going to turn the seatbelt signs on as well, just so people know it's time to sit down and get ready for landing. And then after that we'll play the seatbelt on announcement. Alright, so we are at top of descent. We're going to push that in, and the aircraft is going to begin to descend down to 2,500. Again, following any altitude or speed constraints that might pop up. Alright, now we're going to play the seatbelt chime, just because why not? If it's there, why not use it for a little bit more realism? So now the aircraft's just going to continue to descend down to 2,500 feet as we begin our descent down into Rome. You can kind of see the coast of Italy just off to our right there, and then there's the land. I don't have any key bindings yet for my camera angles, so I am doing them all manually. However, I do plan on implementing some in the near future. So now we're just going to continue to let the aircraft descend as it follows the VNAV, and then we'll check back when we're a little lower. Alright, so now I'm just reviewing all my approach charts for my arrival into Rome. So normally in North America, at least I know, the transition altitude is typically 18,000. Here in Europe, it's usually, or at least I know in Germany, is about 6,000 feet. So that means we will not set the altimeters to standard, or sorry, to the local pressure until we're at 6,000, which means we'll stay in standard below 18,000. Nothing's really changed weather-wise since I've last checked, which I'm reviewing right now, the weather data. Nothing's changed from what I inputted recently into the arrival data, so that's good there. We're still cleared for the ILS 6 left Whiskey approach using, I forget the star, but regardless, it's all set up, all programmed. The airplane knows what it's doing. We know what we're going to do. We're going to land this thing. The landing probably won't be the best because, again, this is my first time landing the A350. I've never done a full flight. I've flown it around a little bit, but not from point A to point B using the autopilot system, so I guess we'll see how that turns out. Alright, so now the airplane is beginning to slow down a little because there are some speed constraints coming up in our waypoints on our way into Rome. So right now the plane is going to be going down to 250. I have the spoilers at half right now just to help slow it down a little. I am going to go ahead and retract those now, and I'm actually going to arm them for landing. I have my auto brakes set to low. We're at 25,000 right now. At 10,000 we'll switch on all exterior lights, and then we'll begin kind of setting up and briefing for the landing. Gotta say, the scenery on this flight has actually been really impressive. I have a few freeware add-ons that you can get from the X-Planes forum website, and it just adds textures to the maps to make the grounds look a little better. The mountains are really pretty. I like the cloud coverage right now. It looks really good, especially with that sunset. If we do a quick look on the outside here, there was a little bit of sun earlier, but now you can see how it's casting down the side of the aircraft. That looks really nice, and how it reflects off that body of water over there. So now we're just still kind of making our way down to Rome. There is traffic that just popped up on our TCAS system. This is another speed constraint. We will be hitting at 230 knots. The approach into Rome is definitely one I've never seen before, so it's really confusing. So we're going to go up, to the right, down, then make another turn to the right, and then go up, and then over to Oxroom, and then down to the runway in Rome. So that's kind of where we are right now. I just have my range set to 20. Don't need it too crazy. As the plane starts descending more, it will start slowing itself down just a little more here. The altitude constraint of 230 is right there. We'll start dumping flaps a little lower, and once we're starting to kind of line ourselves up for the approach to slow ourselves down, and I'll check back with y'all once we're at 10,000. One thing I did not notice is that you can see here that the aircraft is telling me to deploy spoilers to help it decel. So we're going to do that right now. You can see it's tracking it right there, so I guess it wants spoilers full, so that's what we're going to give it to help it slow down now. There's 220. We're going to dump out flaps 1 now, just to help slow her down. One thing that I do find a little annoying, and one thing I have not gotten down yet, is what speeds and or altitudes to deploy my flaps. I usually do it when the airplane starts decelling at about this point to help it kind of slow down to its speed constraint, which is going to be 220 knots. So now we are at that. We're going to bring in the speed brakes. Oh, it still wants speed brakes, I guess. It wants to slow down a little more before that decel point, or the speed constraint, I might say, sorry. And now we're just climbing through 14,000, or descending through 14,000, sorry, as we head into Rome. Alright, so we are now at almost 10,000 feet, sorry. So we're going to bring our turnoffs on, our wing lights will come on, our landing lights will come on, our nose lights are still on. We're going to turn the logo light to the on position instead of auto. And now the aircraft is slowly just descending again down to the runway as we, well, down the waypoints to the intercept for the runway. And we're still holding about 210 knots here. I am not 100% sure what this right here is. If anyone could tell me in the comments, that would be great. I thought it meant to deploy the spoilers, however, when I disarm them, it goes away, so it could just be telling me, hey, your ground spoilers are armed, but if anyone could tell me, that would be wonderful. So now, as we continue to descend through 10,000, we're gonna get ready to pop the altimeters out of standard and put them into local pressure, which is gonna be 29.94, sorry. And then, yeah, we'll let the aircraft handle the lining up and getting us down, and then once we're at about 3,000 feet, we will disconnect the autopilot, and I will hand fly us onto the runway. Alright, so now we are on our final we are still starting our approach towards Rome. We're not on final just yet, however, the airplane is set up there. You can see it has the ILS frequency. We have the LS systems on. I do have just a little bit of flaps out right now just to help kind of slow down. I'm not too sure why it shakes so bad, but I guess we'll just have to live with it. I'm gonna do some more reading, watch some tutorials, and learn how to fly the A350. I have a few more flights planned with it, mostly transatlantic, but maybe a few short hauls. So right now we're heading over to the Eczema intersection, and as it's still continuing to line itself up with the runway. So you can see here there is a descent point, which tells me there's there's an altitude constraint right there. So, oh my gosh. Anyways, that's why I don't like this management system for the flight computer. I'm going to go into open speed, not managed right now. Actually, let's put it into managed speed and just see what happens, because I don't know, I haven't had much luck getting the airplane to slow down really past the constraint. However, we are just passing a constraint here of 200 knots, so let's pop this out and bring it down to right there, because that's the slat. That's when they want the slats deployed or brought in. So we'll bring it out there and slowly start slowing down the airplane. This is one of my first times flying in a European airport, so definitely a few challenges reading the charts and stuff for the approach, but other than that, it's been a pretty non-eventful flight. Yesterday I did a flight and I had an error occur with one of my aircraft. It was no big deal. We were able to land safely. However, that is one of the things you should always be on the lookout for, is faults that might happen, engine failures. So I'm constantly monitoring that while we're flying along. And now the aircraft's increasing some speed because it's at the speed we want. We're going to dump out one more notch of flaps here. There's the 2500 call out, and I'm going to go arm the approach. And we're going to pull this guy out to start slowing the airplane down. Alright, and in a few minutes here I will bring the landing gear down. Gotta say, this aircraft is very nice to fly. It was very smooth on takeoff, and, you know, I do like the Airbus aircrafts, but I will be using some Boeing. I don't have any of the E-Jet series. I do have some older aircraft like the 707, but the FMS is just the default X-plane one, so I really don't tend to use it because I just don't like the default FMS. I mostly do fly payware models just because they are better than the default FMS. I wish I still had the Zibo mods 737, but I cannot find a link to that anywhere, which is really disappointing because when I remember playing X-Plane 11 before, there's the 2000 call it, I remember enjoying using the 737 because the default 737 is just, it's not a bad model, but the autopilot isn't the best. Alright, we're gonna go gears down now that we're lined up with the runway. I'm gonna throw out more flaps. Flaps 3 now. Pull this out. Let the airplane kinda...
Terrain.
Yeah, that's gonna happen. We'll turn our terrain radar on now instead of weather. Alright, so... we have armed the approach mode. I'm just gonna let the airplane finish lining itself up here. We're gonna go into manage speed mode in a couple seconds here. Just want to hit this last waypoint, and then it'll be our aircraft down to the runway. Alright, we're 0.4 nautical miles. Sorry about the flickering there, I'm hovering over just so I can push this in when ready. Alright, and now we are on final for Rome, so flaps can go full. Gotta push that in for manage speed mode. Autopilots disconnect my aircraft.
Terrain.
Alright, just nice and steady down. You know, you can kind of just feel that it's a big aircraft, you know, it's a wide body twin jet. Alright, bring that nose up. Slowly descending down now. Flight directors can come off. As we begin descending down to the runway. Oh, bring that nose down just a little.
Terrain.
And we're just hand flying her down.
Terrain.
Too white, too red I can see, so that means we are on the correct glide slope. This little green dot right there is just a centerline reference. So. And again, I still don't 100% know what the point of the diamonds are. Again, I'm not a professional. I just started dabbling in IFR flights a little while ago.
Terrain.
That nose up bring that nose down just a little. Actually bring the nose up a little because it looks like we're going to be a little low. Right, there we go. And we're back on the glide slope there. Still on the center line. Alright, we're on the diamond there.
Terrain.
Oh, shut up.
Terrain.
There's no terrain. Like, that's the one annoying thing is sometimes it will kick up terrain callouts as if I'm about to crash into a mountain, but... Alright, there's the 500.
Terrain.
Just slowly bringing her down here. 400. Nose down a little high here. It's okay, we can regain it. Alright, let's not forget about our center line. There we go. Minimums.
200.
Hands come on the throttle, ready to retard the plane when it calls out it.
100. 100.
Alright, we're on the
90,
center line.
80, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20. Retard 10. Thrust.
Alright, and we are down. Fly the nose wheel down and reversers. Speed brakes are full. A really slow VREF today, so... Alright, there's 80. Brakes can come off. Switch to manual. Okay. For some reason, my brakes will not turn off. Okay, there we go. I have this issue sometimes where it will not set my parking brake, but alright, ladies and gentlemen, we have now arrived in Rome. We are just gonna taxi off the runway now. Let's look at the external shot. And look at that sunset. So we're just gonna go taxi over to the gates now and park the plane. I gotta say, that was a really nice approach. I mean, I was a little high on the end, but I can't complain. It is my first time landing this aircraft, and I do think I didn't do too bad. I will see you guys when we're over at the gates. Alright guys, so as we taxi over to the gate, we're just going to also go through the checklist for shutting down the aircraft, as I haven't gone through that checklist just yet. I don't usually go through it. I usually, once I've landed and such, I usually just start my next flight. However, today we are going to park over at a gate just because I installed a scenery pack with AutoGate, and I just wanted to see if those are working. So I'm going to go taxi over to the gates, and I will check back with you guys. Alright everyone, we are now at our gate and the APU is running, so what we are going to do now is come over here. Engine 2, Engine 1 will come off. We are now parked at the gate, which they will now attach, and we can come over here to airplane, to... where is it? It's gonna be on... wrong page, sorry. Ground services, doors and hatches. We can set the load config, say that the plane's at the gate, and then we can call everyone in to start taking care of the plane. Passengers can start deplaning as we are now in Rome. Thank you for joining us today on the flight, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you on our next flight.